Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
For today's project, you will need a few supplies. You do need a scissors and a cutting board to cut your paper, some foam tape. You will need some cutting dies, and I will be using these 3 dies today. This one's a Crafter's Companion Happy Birthday one, also this Tim Holtz Alteration one, and this one is called, it's Mixed Media. And I will also be using the Spellbinders Fancy Diamonds. You will need paper. I will be using Graphic 45 Midnight Masquerade paper. Both the background, the patterns and solids paper, and also just the regular set. And then also some purple cardstock that matches. You also need a scoreboard. You also need flowers of different colors and sizes that match or coordinate with the paper. These flowers do come from Kraft Supplies for you, and I will have those links listed below in the description box in case you are interested in checking out the KS for You store. I believe I will also be using some mesh bling on this project. And again, you can find some of this product at Kraft Supply for You. And then the other items that you will need, since this is a shaker card, you will need some sort of shaker elements. And so I have some beads and some sequins that I will be using. I will also be using other types of glue. I will be using possibly some glossy accents, tacky glue. I will also be using a hot glue gun and also possibly some fine tip glue. I will also be using some of this trim on this card. This is some braided trim, again, from Kraft Supplies for You. So to begin with, you're going to want to cut all of your paper. And so the first sheet that you need is you need to take your cardstock, your purple, and I'm using purple cardstock today, and you need to cut it 6 by 12. You also need another sheet of cardstock that matches. This one also needs to be 6 by 6. You will need to cut out a piece of your Graphic 45 paper, and this one is slightly less, so it's about 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 square. You will need another 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 square in a coordinating color from the Graphic 45 paper. And then this one you also want to go ahead and take your die cut. This is again the Tim Holtz Mixed Media one, and it's this one here. And you want to die cut out 2 spots. So I did right here and also right up here. I just reversed it and did it up here in the corner. That way when you put your shaker elements in there, you are going to be able to see. I also cut another sheet of the Graphic 45 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 for the back side of my card. I also went ahead and cut out one of the little die cuts, journaling cards that they have in the paper collection, and also cut some coordinating Graphic 45 paper to layer behind it. I also went ahead and used those other die cuts that I showed you guys. I used this Happy Birthday, and I used a scrap of this paper back here to cut that one out so it says Happy Birthday. And then I used the Spellbinders Fancy Diamond to cut out 2 of the diamonds, the largest size and then the next size smaller. So once you've cut out all of your paper, and then before we do that, I did also for the inside, because when you make your easel card, it helps to have something to rest it on. I did cut out some more scraps from the paper collection, and this strip usually is 6 inches long, and then you can make it anywhere between like 1 to 2 inches, whatever your preference is. And then this was just one of the little die cut pieces from the paper collection that I cut out just to decorate it up a little bit. You also need some sort of sheet of either clear packing or transparency sheet, whatever you have. The first step to making this card is to take your piece of cardstock, which I have purple here, and again it's 12 inches long by 6 inches. And we are going to score it. So make sure you have it lined up on your scoreboard, and you're going to score it at 6, which is the middle. And then you are also going to score it at the 3-inch mark. And those are the only 2 scores that you need to make. So go ahead and fold your card in half. And then you're also going to score and fold that other one, and you just fold it into the card, because this is how your easel card's going to set up. So I did also forget to mention to go ahead, and you will also need some double stick tape. And eventually what's going to happen is we're going to attach this other piece of cardstock onto here, but to make the shaker for right now, I think I'm going to do that first and then go ahead and attach it. So the first thing you want to do is take your other couple layers. So now I have this graphic 45, which is going to be my base layer, which is what you're going to see through the shaker part. So you just need to decide if you want a pattern underneath it or... And I think I'm just going to go with kind of the more neutral color here. And so you're going to go ahead and attach that. And again, this sheet is just slightly smaller, 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And you can either glue this down or tape it, whatever your preference is. So just go ahead and center that onto your cardstock. So now the next step is you are going to want to attach your transparency behind the sheet that you cut out your little die cut on. So I usually find it easiest just to start with a larger sheet and attach it, and then I will just cut around it to make sure that it fits. And I'm just going to use a combination of tape and glue for this. Go ahead and very carefully attach it to your acetate or your clear packing. So next I'm just going to go ahead and cut around this. So now we've just created a little bit of a window there so that we'll be able to see our shaker elements. And so next we are going to want to attach, before we add our shaker stuff, we will add our shaker stuff here in a minute. But I'm going to put, because you do want this raised up a little bit, so I'm going to add some packing tape since this is the same size. I could put this around the edges, but I will have to cut it down along the spots where I've die cut. So I'm just going to go just some really small strips right here. I'm just going to make sure that they're going to fit and not show through. So there's the first layer. I usually like to do a double layer just to make sure that all of my shaker elements that I'm going to put in here can move freely. So I'm going to take up the backing off of this and then add one more layer of foam tape around the whole outside. And you guys can see I kind of missed a little piece right here, and you want to make sure you don't do that because otherwise your shaker elements will fall out. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off and then put another piece in there just to make sure that my elements aren't going to fall out before I add the other layer on. So once you've had a second layer of foam tape, go ahead and put whatever shaker elements you want inside of your shaker. Okay, the next step, once you're happy with how many shaker elements you have inside of here, you could also use seed beads if you don't have sequins or the no-hole beads like I have, is I do like to take a little sheet of a dryer sheet, and I do rub it over the back of my acetate before I attach it, because sometimes there's static electricity and stuff sticks to it. So I just find if I rub a dryer sheet over it, that helps a little bit with the static electricity of the beads and the sequins. So now I'm going to take up the backing on the foam and I'm going to attach that. And so now we have a shaker, and if you look close you can see the little shaker elements moving. And so you can see a little bit of the foam tape, so what I'm probably going to end up doing is taking some of my little mesh bling and probably adding a border around here so you don't see that, I think, is what I'm going to do to hide that problem. So next I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my base of my card. And so for this, you're just going to want to take either glue or tape, and you just want to tape the bottom half right here. So just make sure your tape or your glue is underneath that fold line. That's kind of important. So you're just going to attach the bottom of this piece onto your base of your card. Like that. So now once we add the inside piece, it will stand up like an easel card. But I'm going to go ahead and decorate. I do eventually will add this gorgeous lady on top, and I'm just going to angle her. The big thing is you want to make sure that you don't have anything hanging out of the bottom so that it will stand. But I'm going to go ahead and add that border like I talked about first. So that's what we have so far. And I'm going to go ahead and attach this first using just regular double stick tape. Then I'm also going to go ahead and add some of this little mesh bling to the sides of this. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and attach it, and I chose not to put any tape up here because I want to make sure that you don't see it from the back side of the card. And again, you want to make sure that you don't have anything hanging off of the bottom of your card. So next, I'm going to go ahead and attach some flowers to my card. And again, you can purchase all of these flowers I'm using at Kraft Supplies for you. And again, I'm going to make sure that I'm not going too far down below the base of my card. So now for the inside, you want to take your little paper strips that we cut earlier. And you do want to use the foam tape for this, just so that your card, when you open it up, it has a spot to latch onto and stay open. And just decide how far up you want it to go. I think I'm going to put mine right there. And so now it'll stay open. So usually when I make these types of cards, I like to write my sentiment on the back side of the card. You can, of course, open it up and write a sentiment in there. So I'm just going to turn this around and attach that to the back. You can either use glue or tape. I'm just going to go ahead and use tape. Again, you just want to make sure that you're using really strong double stick tape. And if you wanted to, you could have done this earlier. I just like to do it at the very end just in case my workspace is dirty or something. This at least will cover up if I got anything on the back side of this card. So that's usually why I wait to do this until the end. So I am going to go ahead and attach these layers also on top. And again, these are those other die cuts that I showed you at the beginning of the video. And then to glue on the happy birthday, I'm going to use a fine tip glue, and I'm using this Adhesive Tech fine line glue. Okay, after I've attached all those layers, I will go over the happy birthday with glossy accents just to make the happy birthday stand out just a little bit more. So that's what we have. I'm going to let that dry, and then once it's dried, I will come back and show you the finished card. I just wanted to show you guys the final card now that everything is dry. So again, this is a shaker easel card. You can kind of hear the beads and confetti and stuff moving on the inside of the card. And you can also see it in the windows. And then the back side just looks like that. And of course, since it's an easel card, it does pop up and it will sit like this. So that's that card. And then I also made another one using a few supplies from Kraft Supplies for You. And I created it exactly the same, but without the shaker element. And so here is this one that I also created to share with you guys. This one I added the gorgeous little mask that's carried at Kraft Supplies for You in a wide variety of colors, and added the flowers in the little corners there. The back looks very similar to the other one I just showed you guys. And this one is also an easel card. I do love how both of these cards turned out, and I just want to thank everybody so much for watching and commenting today. I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.